Okay, so first of all, I want to thank you all for attending this quarterly Customer Connect event. We're going to be covering two things. One's going to be managing changes in your network with NetBeez, and the other one's going to be an upcoming feature called Agent Performance that we're releasing with version 9.0. So for those of you I haven't spoken to in a while, my name is Stephen Krugar, and I am a customer success engineer over here at NetBeez. So how can NetBeez help when it comes to change management? Well, a perfect example is what happened yesterday with Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp all went down probably for about 5 hours. NetBeez can detect actually a little bit under 30 seconds, typically 25, 5x5 pings. So that's very useful whenever you're making changes to network. You can be notified of reachability very quickly, and that's just with the default configuration. You can use NetBeez to troubleshoot scope of issues. You can help isolate the location of those issues. And a very key one is performance issues. Finding them before users report them is really important. And if you can transversely solve those problems before the end users get impacted where they notice it, that's also very big. And then you can use NetBeez to do some on-demand testing when it comes to analyzing changes with your network that may have not gone ideal. So this is typically what we see in most of your enterprise environments. You have your on-prem location. So that's going to be your headquarters, your remote offices. You have your remote users. Definitely a lot of our customers still have a big remote workforce, and that could be like that for the foreseeable future. Look at your cloud voice video services, literally what we're doing here with Zoom. Very simple. SaaS applications, web applications like your CRM, Salesforce, your HR programs, your ticketing system, everything like that. And then we have your cloud and your data centers. And for those of you that don't have or those who've been NetBeez for a while, you'll note that we have a lot of different ways you can deploy. We have physical sensors, what we call the network sensors rather, physical ones like wired and wireless. We have virtual sensors as well. You can integrate directly onto Cisco and Extreme switches, or some of those that do support that, directly onto a Linux operating system within a Docker container within Azure, AWS, and Google cloud instances, and then also more recently Windows and Mac OS as well. So this is a snapshot of the anomaly detection, and I need to give some disclosure here. This is very, very, very much a tight tuning situation. I am running 1 minute averages and setting them to very specific numbers. This was based off of what the agents were performing to the targets on the network. So I analyzed them for a few days to verify. But we want to do this for this example, especially with change management. You may want to be notified as quickly as 30 seconds to a minute that there's a problem. But just be very careful if you're going to make them this tight versus say 5 minutes or 15 minutes, because any kind of small hiccup will pop up as an alert. So this is what we typically see in a healthy network. You're going to have a lot of green and you'll have some white. The white is just targets that are assigned to that agent. In many cases, not every agent needs to run every target, but you definitely want to have a lot of built-in redundancy. You don't want a lot of one-to-one because then you really can't fine-tune a dashboard that well. But you see a lot of green and a lot of overlap as well. And this is what a snapshot looks like whenever some changes are made to the network and when it's brought back online. This is what we have. So we have Albuquerque support is offline completely, so not reachable. And then we have both New York and Seattle, the two of the three sales departments are having performance issues. Now it's important to note that, is this a network issue or is it an application issue? Very simple. If it was an application issue, it would be vertical orange. If it's a network issue at a location, it's going to be horizontal orange. So we can verify we're having performance issues at both of those locations. And here you can see, here's a quick snapshot of what it looks like. So when you start seeing a bunch of alerts pop up, it's good to start looking at the alerts tab as a whole rather than a per agent, because you'll be bouncing around here. You can start seeing different agents and different tests that are failing as well. So you see like Albuquerque is not reachable, Seattle sales is having a problem here. And then you can see that these particular you can definitely tell there's some performance issues. So what do we know? We have two different kind of issues. The issues are isolated to 3 locations, 2 of them performance, 1 of them is unreachable. Do note in this situation, the issue starting like 5 minutes apart, that definitely could be applicable, depending on, if you roll these changes out 5 minutes apart, then we definitely know it could be linked to that. We did verify this is an issue from what we've seen so far. And it might be a little bit harder to see, and I do apologize, but what I did was I clicked on each of these, and I can show you this a little later. So I popped out, this is for Google, test to Google. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have basically all the agents, other than these 2, were running fine, 20 milliseconds. And then this one's running at 200, and this one's spiking over here as well. So we definitely can verify this is just isolated to 2 locations. So next steps. When it comes to performance issues, there's a couple things you can do. You can run like an ad hoc ping test, right? To see if you're getting real-time results very similar, do some troubleshooting. You can do a speed test or iPerf test. You can either run that ad hoc, or we actually have something really cool. We just implemented a dashboard here where you can actually just hit run test now, which is really cool. So that'll also log this data on the server for reporting. So let me switch back over here. You can check your path analysis as well. That can give you some information on where the issue might lie. And worst case scenario, you can issue some change requests to the system. Obviously, you can't just reboot a switch, especially during business hours, but you might have to look at issuing a change request, whether that's rebooting different parts of the network or rolling back changes that you deployed. The issue with the device that's down, the agent was unreachable, right? Check other agents on the network. It's really ideal if you have multiple agents at each location, because if you have a switch go down, that may only power certain systems or certain departments. And if you don't have an agent in other areas, that you might not know if it's a location or just a one hardware fault within the network. If there's only one agent, maybe check other devices on the network, see if they're reachable, ping different gateways, different switches, see if you're getting a response. If you are, maybe bounce the port on the agent if it's PoE. If it's not PoE or if it's not responding, then check to see if somebody unplugged the agent. To be honest, I hear about that all the time when people are doing network changes and moving things around and upgrades. They want to move this switch physically over here, and they have to unplug some things, and it doesn't get plugged back in. That's unfortunately pretty popular. I do hear about that a lot. So let's go into a live demo here. Let me move this off the screen there. My face was in the way there. And let's bring up the tab I was showing you earlier. So this is what a lot of our customers typically use. What I'm going to do is I'm already SSH to the server, and I'm just going to institute 200 milliseconds of delay. It will appear pretty quickly. And with how tight the timings are set to the anomaly detection, we should start to notice these will turn pretty quickly. So let's look at main database. Actually, these were already pretty quick, because these are set to 10 milliseconds. So we went from an average of like 2 or 3 up to 200. So that's going to skew your 1 minute running average very, very, very quickly. So we'll start to see those pop up. Actually, you can see them right here in the real time. And if we go to here, we can this case, in this case, actually are on-prem. Those are going to turn, and then as we start moving through that minute running average, those 50 and 100s will start to turn as well. And what ends up happening is the alerts logged here, the alerts logged in the agents section as well. And what I have set up is an email will go to me, because this will turn into an ongoing agent incident. And that will automatically email me within, very quickly. Obviously, it can vary depending on your mail server speed and stuff like that. So yep, now we see the rest of these are moving through as well. And then from here, what I could do is we can do a ping test, right? And I'll type in Albuquerque sensor, and we'll just simply ping google.com. And then you'll see we're going to get back very similar results. We're up over 200. So definitely an issue here. And then we could do, say we can check the Charlotte one just to make sure that one's running good, and we can verify that this is an ongoing issue as well. One thing I haven't really actually checked, and just for the heck of it, if you guys remember, Facebook was down the other day. I think we do, yeah, we do have a Facebook test here. So you can actually see, yep, it was down from here to here. So that's pretty interesting. I just wanted to show it since that's pretty relevant. So it would have alerted right after the first 5. So right here, it would have alerted that there was an issue with Facebook. So just that's something I would mention. And then you could also, I mentioned earlier, you can click on the test and just hit run now, and you can take a look at the speed test to see what kind of data that it brings back. I want to show you the path analysis, but because I looked at earlier and it does show something pretty cool. However, depending on the time frame that we're in, we may not get anything interesting quite yet. What we'll do is, if this has not run since I injected that, which it doesn't look like it has, I'll show you that once we finish up the next section here. Okay. Sorry if I did cut out there, my apologies. Let's actually, my boss made an interesting note here. I want to check Zoom to see if we're having nothing too crazy. A couple hiccups here. Just wanted to make sure that I wasn't cutting out on you guys here. So next, we want to go over to agent performance. So this is a new feature that we are rolling out with version 9.0. That is slated to come out tentatively end of this month, beginning of next month. Obviously, with development, I mean, everything's on track right now, but things can always happen. But that's kind of what we're shooting for, the end of this month, beginning next month. There are 2 main use cases: is the remote worker agent, troubleshooting, because you'll be able to get CPU memory and disk utilization on 5-second intervals, help you roll out network and application issues pretty quickly, give live, as you guys see, we give live data, but also historical utilization data. That's really important. And here's something that we're really pushing towards. NetBeez is a great tool for help desks, but a lot of times the help desks may not be fully part of the network team, might be separated a bit. And to give them full access to NetBeez, or some access to NetBeez, doesn't have a lot of value to some companies. So now we're meshing with the CPU and memory of remote users, as well as the network performance, all together could really give a lot of value to bring the help desk team into using NetBeez more and give them another tool they can use as well. Then on the network agent side, so, for our physical sensors, they're very standard. They have, I think they're running Qualcomm processor or something like that, with plenty of memory. So there's no issues there. In my case, I run a bunch of agents with 1 gig of RAM, 1 CPU, which is fine, but maybe eventually that may not be enough, right? Because we recommend a little more than that for an agent. So monitoring utilization for virtual and cloud agents, I think, is really useful, especially if you're really leveraging NetBeez and doing a lot of tests on a lot of targets. You can keep an eye on to make sure that you're not overloading that virtual instance. And that will also help improve customer experience, being able to see the load on the agent itself when it comes to troubleshooting any kind of issues that you may run into. So I do have a live version of this, which is pretty cool. So if you guys recall, last, I think it was 6 or 7, we added the jitter and MOS overlay, which is really important for things like Zoom and any kind of video or voice or video conferencing. So you can see here, overall, I've been good. I've had no cutouts. I thought I did cut out earlier, but everything's been good. Now we have the CPU and the memory. So this is log out. I don't know how long I've had this agent live for. This should be logging to the point where I started this. Yeah. You can see my CPU usage on 5-second intervals. So you can see it's been good. My memory is a little bit high, and there's actually a reason for that. I am running this server and a bunch of virtualization and running this Zoom meeting and everything all on my laptop. So 16 gigs of RAM, I'm running kind of high right now, but not really too big of an issue, but could have, we didn't have any network issues, but if I did cut out earlier, this could point towards the fact that I am running pretty high on memory. And then this is going to be updated every 5-ish seconds. We're pulling this data with the ping information as well. So you'll see this to move around. The disk usage is static because that's just measuring how filled the hard drive is. So unless you're actively writing more to it, that's really not going to change. Now let's see if we have a up-to-date path analysis here. Not sure if we do. We do not. Okay, I was hoping to show that, but looks like what I can do is go back when I did this earlier. I'll have to go back more than an hour because I did this more than an hour ago. Here we go. And let's do Google. So for those of you who have not messed with path analysis much, this is a really nice tool to have. Scroll down, there we go. So what we want to check for first is we want to make sure if there is an issue that pops up, we want to check to see where it's at. So this is, we didn't run this. We're looking for in here where it ran. So we're still in that 5-minute window. Let me check to see if we have one. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. There we go. So what we're checking for is where the issue lies. So this is the one that completes these other runs timed out. So if the issue was primarily in here, right, the latter half, well, I would actually go to say here, so this is the last hop here, it could potentially be an application issue, right? The issue pops up right here. That's my gateway. And that's 202 milliseconds, right? So 2 milliseconds is pretty typical. So we know the issue, we injected 200 milliseconds. That's why all these are like just over 200. But what should be looking for is, does the issue start here? Does it start with your infrastructure? Does it start at the local ISP here? Is it in the internet, or is it in the infrastructure of the application, right? So since we're pretty much right across the board, the ones that do finish, we know the issue starts at the source. So we can definitely kind of verify it's not, we're really verifying it is the network. I mean, NetBeez is known for verifying it's not the network, but in this case, we can verify this is definitely the network. And what I can do is I'm going to, I just removed that role. So what should start to happen, give this UI maybe 10 to 15 seconds, then we should start seeing these drop back down. And again, the running average of the 10 milliseconds, the main data center, the core, is going to take a little bit longer for those alerts to clear, whereas things like Salesforce and Google and everything, or we'll say Salesforce and Zoho will clear sooner because they're 100 milliseconds. So you see this is going to drop down, and as running averages get below the metrics, I'll get a new email stating that you know, the alert has cleared and everything's back normal, which is definitely what we want depending on what your configuration is. I'm wondering if I can pop this out here. Yes, I can. So you can see here, I got alert detected. Actually, I ran this a few times here. So yeah, 213, literally right after this happens. That's pretty cool. You can see 100% of the tests have exceeded the threshold, which is why I have 60 just for performance reasons. So, and that is pretty much it. Let's go ahead and open up to Q&A and see if you guys have any questions. Come off mute and fire away. I'll give you guys a second here to collect yourselves.
I guess this is Curtis, and I was curious about the, we haven't actually, my organization hasn't implemented the path tracing yet, so I'm really excited to see that. Just wanted to ask you, as far as geolocation on those hops, where is that information coming from? Is it coming from like RIPE or the Aaron or locations like that? So do we know if the hop is actually in the location that it says it is, or if it's just by the billing address of whoever's got that IP address leased?
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's from a database called IPinfo that we're pulling. So as long as that info is available, you know, we're gathering all the data such as the ASN, AS number, you know, what name is associated with that, what IP is associated with it. So yeah, this is really cool. We also released the ability to compare these, which is pretty nice. So you can actually see the good and the bad. I'll go ahead and maximize this here. And the geolocation does take into account different factors, not just the business locations as well. So yeah, so you can see here the one run. Yeah, you're welcome. The one run was 18 milliseconds, pretty standard. Second run was 217. So you can actually use this comparison tool, which is really cool. You just have to click on any two within basically a week of each other. Works fine. Cool. Any other questions? Dude, that speed test. Oh, that speed test was awful. Yeah. What was that? 300. That latency was really bad. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording here. Oh, I do see. Oh, Alexander asked a question. My apologies. Can you please repeat the part about the laptop computer testing? Was it the same solution with some of the agents installed on Windows? So yeah, so we have a couple different deployments I'll show you here. So these are endpoint agents. These run directly on laptops and desktops. Then everything else is kind of used as a network agent. So these are virtual clusters I've spin up in VMs and all sorts of different aspects there. And then what you can do here is go to online documentation, install NetBeez agents, and then option 4 and 5 is the MSI installer. So when you click on that, it'll get you to our GitHub with the latest version. These automatically update too. And then you can just install these on a laptop or desktop. All you'll need is this, your secret key. It's basically everything's automatically configured, like start up, boot up, auto update, everything like that. So just copy and paste the key if you're doing like a one-off install, or you can package it up in like an MSI installer and roll it out through a centralized management system. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I went over that. Yeah, if you want me to expand on that, if you have any additional questions, let me know. I'll give you a minute or two to respond on that. But yeah, here's the agent itself. You see, you have, I need to rename this. I forgot to do that earlier. This is on a beta version, I guess 11.0. So I needed that because this feature is not fully released yet. Oh, sorry. This feature is not fully released yet, so I needed that. Yeah, this will come out for all agents with the next version. Like I said, should be the end of the month. See if there's any other questions. I think that was it from a chat standpoint. Okay, I'm going to again cut the recording here. Stop recording.